Okay, it won't be long. I'm just setting up the live stream. Okay. Just check the volumes. I'm going to turn the airplane volume down a bit so you can hear me over the top of it when we do get it up and running. So this is a relatively new airplane now. It came out a couple of days ago as far as I'm aware. It's the VirtualCol Airbus A220. It looks great. The cockpit isn't up to much. And the systems are, well, I don't actually know. I've not flown it yet. I have gone through and written up a procedure for it, though, which corrects some of the strangeness in the procedures that come with it inside the airplane. So it's from the marketplace. Actually, that's a really good point. If we go and open the File Explorer and go over to the Community folder and go back into Official and One Store, and we put this in date modified order. There's the aircraft, and yeah, there's no documentation. Okay, so all you actually get then is the procedures. At least there are procedures in here, so they're okay, and I've been working through them. Some of the ordering is a bit odd, so I've gone and reordered some of it to make it a bit more sense. And there are checklists in the cockpit, but we'll get to that. So I'm going to go and look around the aircraft here with the Xbox controller, so we can see if we go and have a look really closely. So it's kind of basic. It's, you know, it's there. It's the stuttering, by the way, is because I'm at a high fidelity version of Stansted. So for the test flight, I'm going to do a well-known route, so Stansted up to Edinburgh, and we see how we get on. So yeah, the engines look pretty good, but then they could have borrowed the engines from somewhere else, I guess. I don't know. So why is there a truck right underneath the wing? That's not really helpful, is it? Okay. So you get lots of liveries with it. That's another positive, I guess. But yeah, it's just, you pay for what you get, I guess. It's £14, I think, UK. So I haven't gone inside with the camera either yet. So if we go and jump inside, yeah, you can start to see the textures are very low resolution in places, but the actual structures are good. But yeah, it starts to show itself here and there, look. So if we go and have a look around the cockpit isn't too bad at all. Shall I swap my pilot out for somebody wearing an appropriate uniform? So I've forgotten how to do this. If we go to General Options and MISC and Pilot Avatar, so we probably want Pilot 7, he'll do. Apply, go back, resume. So you can see the textures are quite low res, and the structures are very simple, but on the other hand, it's very, very easy to read. It's very, very clear. So I think a few people are going to see this. I mean, I haven't actually flown it yet, so who knows? But a lot of people might be saying, oh, you know, dodged a bullet there, or I've taken one for the team. But although it looks quite simple, it seems to work actually okay. The flight management computer leaves a lot to be desired, but we'll get to that. So we've got our usual pilots. And let's go so I'll escape out of here, away from the drone camera. So we're in our normal view. Oh, the drone camera's drifting there. Let's stop it from drifting. Is it still drifting? No, I don't think it is. So I have mapped some keys. So the first downer is the default keys they've set up are a bit strange. So control 1, 2, 3, 4, Y, 5. You can't see any of the switches from there. 6, 7. Why is it off to one side? 8. So we've got the top 2/3 of the overhead panel. 9 is the pilot view. So what I've done is set up Alt 1 to go to the tablet, Alt 2 to go to the EFIS controls, Alt 3 to go to the FGCP, Alt 4 to go to the MCDU, Alt 5 to go to the pedestal, Alt 6 to fit the entire overhead panel in, and Alt 7 to give me the eyebrow panel. And that's all you need. Well, you don't actually need the tablet, to be honest. It doesn't really do anything. Or it doesn't do anything that's useful to us, but we'll have a play with it during the flight. So overhead, we can get this thing started up. So if we've got external power available, and we have, we can go and switch that on. And then we can go and turn the batteries to auto. So then the emergency lights, we can go arm them. So that's over here. So we rotate it right. And then we go and put the... See, now this is where I think some of this is completely out of order, but I don't know. On this aircraft, it may be that you need the boost pumps for the APU. I don't know. So I'm just doing things in the order that they said for some of it, even though it appears to be very strange. So boost pumps on, and then APU control is... where is it? Down here. That's not actually the APU on though, is it? It's at the bottom left. Here we go. So we go and switch the APU on. So then we'll come down here and we'll go and put the nav lights on to let people know we're on the airplane. We'll go and put the passenger seats and the no personal electronic device lights on. And then overhead, we go back to hydraulics. See, I wouldn't have thought hydraulics would happen until you got the engines running, but there we go. So I'm finding my own way around here as well. So we're just going to turn all of the hydraulic systems to auto. So it may be because it has auto, it doesn't actually matter. So pressurization, we're going to put auto press to on. Probe heats are up here, so we can go and turn those on as well. Anti-ice is down here, and we can turn all of these to auto as well. Okay, and then we're coming down to the MCDU to program the flight. So you do get these checklists. I haven't figured out how you can click on this. This is a touch screen, but it's all a bit odd and it doesn't make a lot of sense in terms of the airplane, so I'm not going to go near them. So let's go and init, and then we'll put our from and to in. So we're going to do EGSS to EGPH. EGPH, so that's Stansted Airport to Edinburgh. And we'll select the soft key next to it to populate it. And then we can return. And then we can put a cost index in. I'm just going to make something up, so 100. And put a cruise flight level in. We'll go up to 360 en route. Okay, and we can go next page. And everything we need to fill out is already filled out. So we'll go, oh, let's just check and see how much fuel we've got. I haven't actually looked at this yet. So it gives us 50%. That's plenty to get to Edinburgh. Okay, so that's the initialization page done. So if we go to flight plan next, so it's similar to the other Airbuses, but different, because it's not an Airbus really. It's an Bombardier, isn't it? Okay, so we're going to go and select EGSS, departure, runway 22, and the BKY5R standard instrument departure. So it's selected both, then we insert, and it puts the legs in. So then we can go and select destination, and we're going to say arriving, runway 24, AGP E1E, and insert. See, now this is weird, look. If we go to flight plan and go push it up, yeah, it has put it in, even though it went round in a loop then. So we have got the standard terminal arrival route and the approach into Edinburgh. So I'm not sure how well any of these screens are going to work, because this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen in a simulator. So this may be absolutely accurate, by the way. So when you select any of these, these are the buttons to switch the frequencies. Yeah, you have to go to the tune menu and then tell it which one you want to change. So I said nav 1. Notice they don't line up with the things, which makes it even more odd. So if I said nav 2, that will do that one. If I do nav 1, and it's still got oh, it's come up saying nav 1 here. Yeah, it's really odd. It's not intuitive at all. Anyway, I'm not going to get too sidelined by that. So we've got the map display. I'm just going to have a play with this because I've not tried this myself. So there's the map. We can change the range by rolling, or maybe we can't. We have to click on it. Okay, we can only roll right. Right goes to a higher. Okay. We'll see what happens. So Alessandro is saying it's the same as if you're flying a paper aeroplane. Well, we'll find out in a moment. I saw Avangel's review earlier, and it seemed to behave itself. I don't know whether she was just being kind or maybe not as or being more forgiving than most people. I don't know. So I'm just showing you as I see it. So let's go and see what these other modes do. So that puts the FMS into that screen. This is interesting. So that shows the radio frequencies. That's rather handy, actually. That shows you the checklist. That shows you the systems. Data doesn't appear to do anything, so we'll leave it on map. Okay, so we've programmed the basic route in. We haven't done. Okay, so that appears to have messed this up, which was good. Oh, we get to choose down here then. So if we go to FMS and we go to performance, we want to. It will pre-calculate these without doing anything, which I guess the real thing might do. So I can't seem to put trim levels in, but I can put, say, flaps 1 in. I can't seem to put 1/ and any sort of trim, so that doesn't seem to be implemented. The phases are there though, and obviously there's the approach phase with the QNH and everything for later on. We'll leave that alone. If we just go back to this is the Direct 2 page, you get a data page, you get navigation, radios, and we'll go back to flight plan. Okay, so I'm just going to have a scroll through the flight plan. So if we scroll it upwards, I'm just looking to see if it does discontinuities or not. It hasn't put any discontinuities in, which surprises me. So we'll try our luck with flying it, shall we? So at least you can program things into it, though. Some of the cheap planes, the MCDU or the FMS doesn't work at all. So that's quite a surprise, really. So we're going to go and look at the FGCP now. We could go and set, or I say we could go and set. It seems to go on managed mode immediately. So can we go heading and select a heading? We can't select a heading. That's interesting. Can we... Okay, we got a random number generator on the indicated airspeed. That's even more interesting. And we can't use the mouse wheel on it by the look of it. It's just going to do what it's going to do. So what do the flight director buttons do anything? So flight director switches on and the vertical speed came on with it, which is really odd. And both flight directors came on at once. So if we went nav mode, and I'm guessing this is going to behave itself. We really have no idea. So I can change the altitude. So can I take it straight to 36? Interesting, it doesn't round when you do that. So you'll end up having to make small corrections. Of course, we may never fly this more than once. We'll find out very soon. So obviously there's the master autopilot button. We can put the... Wow, hang on a second. So your dampers doesn't switch on. This still seems to be having a mind of its own in terms of indicated airspeed for the auto throttle. So we'll leave it alone for the moment. Okay. I think this might be quite an abortive flight, really. So we're going to go overhead. Oh, hang on, before we do that, let's go and see if we can calibrate the altimeters at least. So if I press B, that works. What about D? Yep, nothing's driven off gyros, that's always good. So, Alt 6, left bleed on, right bleed on, APU bleed on. Alt 7, go and put the beacon light on. And we can perform the pushback at this point. So let's have a look outside. It doesn't have chocks, does it? No. So press Shift and P. Look for the tractor. See, it looks really pretty from the outside. It's just the systems modelling that lets it down, I think. But we're going to persevere, and we'll see how it gets on. Because I imagine most of the people that buy this at this sort of price point are going to fly it on autopilot, and they're not going to play around with the systems. They're going to take the flight plan from the simulator straight into the MCDU. This isn't aimed at the people that would do it properly. Just take the parking brake off. I mean, it's a nice looking aeroplane, that's the shame. So let's go and put the flaps out while we're waiting. Actually, we can't, can we? We haven't done the hydraulics yet. Or did we? No, I thought we put them on auto. Maybe we need the engines running before we can control the flaps. So we'll stop the pushback there, put the parking brake back on. Okay, so Alt and 5 takes us to the pedestal. We're going to go and switch this to the right engine starter, turn the on switch on, and we should be able to see the numbers come up. Yeah, they are. There's the N2 increasing. And eventually you will see this green light will switch on down here when the engine's up and running. And we can switch the starter over to the other engine and start it. So should we go and have a listen from outside? So it has got heat pouring out of the engine, which is good. We haven't got the green light yet, but we'll just keep an eye on these numbers. Okay, we have the green light. And you can see the numbers are continuing to increase. So we'll go over to engine number 1 and start that one as well. So we'll make the best of this and see if we can get the airplane to at least follow our plan. Interestingly though, look at the throttles. They are at the wrong end of their run. So, do I need to go and... They're not moving, are they? Maybe they... That would explain why the engine's racing. Let's go and have a look. Do we get any control over that in here? I doubt it. What does exit do? Oh, it shows you the exits. That's really not handy. So yeah, it would appear that my throttle controls are not configured correctly, so I'm going to go and have a look at that. I'll go and choose the 2 engine profile, the generic one that I've built that I use with lots of other things. There it is. Apply, go back, resume. Okay, let's try pulling the throttles out and plugging them back in again. No. Okay, let's try something else. You're seeing me struggle with it in the same way that lots of other people probably have. So we're going to go to Preset Manager and we're going to duplicate the profile and call it the A220. And we'll go to Power Management, Throttles, we'll show the essentials. So at the moment I've got throttle 2 axis and throttle 1 axis. So let's try throttle 2 axis 0 to 100 on L axis Y. Validate, and then remove that one. Clear, validate. And do the same for this one. So L-axis X. Validate. And clear out the other axis. Clear it, validate it. And just while we're here, let's go and see if there's any sensitivity curves set up. So no, the throttles are working. So done. I'm not sure if the reverse will be correct, but we'll find out in a few seconds. No, we have no throttles at all. Which is odd. So I wonder if it's just me loading it this time has done that, and if loading it again will fix it. Because that is very, very strange. Why would it be stuck at full throttle? Let me try pulling the controller again and plug it back in. Is everything else working? Rudder's working. Stick is working. It's just the throttles. Okay, so let's see if we can influence it with the keyboard. Or maybe are we just going mad here? Is it the throttles haven't been animated? No, they are just stuck wide open. Which is interesting. Okay, we're going to go back out to the main menu. And start again. Bry Sky has got a really good point there. We switched on auto throttle. Does it is it really that thick that the auto throttle is trying to make the aeroplane move while it's on the parking brakes? You might be onto a good one there. So we'll just whiz through the setup again. It'll only take a minute or two. Just wait for the sim to reload. So we're going to put ourselves back on the ground, somewhere in the parking area at Stansted. That's a really good shout from Bryce Guy there. So give it a few moments to load. So just while we're waiting for it to load, I had a bit of a scare with the computer last night. At some point in the recent past, there was an update to the drivers for the liquid cooling hardware on my computer. So my machine has a mixture of, I don't know, fancy disco lights inside the box that I never look at, and liquid cooling. And a firmware update for the pump for the liquid cooling to the CPU went wrong, meaning that it wasn't pumping coolant. And it caused the CPU, obviously, to go hot enough to boil an egg. And that caused the computer to shut down after a few minutes, and to slow down, obviously, because it throttles the CPU when it gets hot. So, yeah, I had some fun and games at 1 AM this morning, running around in circles, trying to figure out what was going on, and forced a firmware update to the coolant hardware, and it suddenly all worked. And the temperature dropped from 100 centigrade to 30 instantly. Okay, I'm just going to turn the head tracking off for a moment. Let's go and turn this back to the morning so you can see what I'm doing. So head tracking off. Right, let's do that again. So, Alt 6, external power goes on. Batteries 1 and 2 go to auto. The emergency lights go to armed. The boost pumps go to auto. The APU goes to run. It was down here somewhere, wasn't it? There it is. Then we go and put the nav light to on. The seat belts and the personal electronic device lights to on. Then we go back up to hydraulics, and we put everything on auto basically, so they're up here, look. Then we go to pressurization and put auto pressurization on. Probe heats can go on. And then the anti-ice section down here can all go to auto. MCDU, so we're going quickly run through doing the flight plan. So we go init, and where we're going from EGSS to EGPH. Give it a second and return. Cost index 100. Flight level 360, which is 36,000 feet. And we go next page. That all looks fine. So then we go flight plan, and we depart from Stansted, runway 22 on the BKY5R standard instrument departure. We insert that into the flight plan. Then we go to Edinburgh. Oh look, something's just woken up. Oh, the throttles are reversed. I can fix that. So, Edinburgh arrival, ILS24, AGP E1E, and insert it. And then it comes back to this page bizarrely instead of coming back to the flight plan, but that's fine. And then we go to performance and we can calculate the V-speeds. We can put flaps 1 in place. It doesn't seem to know anything more than that about performance. So then direct to, that's all fine. So we'll just go and have a look through that flight plan. There's no discontinuities. I don't think this does discontinuities, to be honest. It's not clever enough. I did have a quick look while I was learning my way around the aeroplane at putting waypoints in the middle of the route. I'm not going to try and do that again. That's a good way of breaking it. Okay, so having done that, should we go and sort this out? So it would appear we've got enough throw here for reversers. So if I reverse the throws on it, so just waiting for this to come back up. There's the A220 profile, power management, throttles. They don't need to be reversed because we're using 0 to 100. Go back, resume. We should find, so where's the cutoff point for reverse? I wonder if that's too far. So normally you tend to find in the simulator that the sensitivity, you put -50 on the neutral point and it will put it in the right place. It seems to be a known convention that the airplanes seem to obey. Apply, go back, resume. So yeah, that would seem to be right, look. So idle and then reverse. Okay. So we'll get the engine started then. So Alt-6 takes us overhead, left bleed on, right bleed on, APU bleed on. The APU will be up and running now, so the external power can be switched off. And then Alt-7, go put the beacon light on, press Shift-P. And we're just waiting for the tractor. Take the parking brake off. Yeah, so I think what was going on here was I pressed the auto throttle button, didn't I? So just while we're pushing back, can I then change this? No, it's still got crazy numbers on it. So I'll leave the FGCP modes alone. So let's increase the range at least on the map display. So range was up here, wasn't it? So we can see the standard instrument departure. So at least have some idea of how closely it's following it. Okay, so stop the pushback, put the parking brake back on, come down to the tablet, the pedestal, sorry, right engine start, and we should see, yep, N2 is coming up. It's a fully automatic start sequence, so we'll just sit and wait for it. And pray. We can't really complain about this aeroplane. It was only £14. Although I know a lot of people will complain and say that's a lot of money, but when you consider that the PMDGs are 60 or 70 and the Leonardos are even more than that. But the Leonardos really are masterpieces. They might not look that clever, but the systems modelling is second to none on them. Okay, so we got the green light. So engine number 1. And while we're doing that, let's go and put the flaps to 1. So do the other flaps travelling this time? I think they already have, haven't they? Let's see how fast they react. a bit of a strange sound, but they are working. Okay. So we're just waiting for engine number 1 to come up to speed. So we're getting further than last time at least. There is some real strangeness, I'll show you in a moment, once the engines have stabilised. So we've got both engines, so Alt 6 to go back overhead. So you would think we can turn the APU bleed off at this point, wouldn't you? But we're going to need the packs. So if we turn the packs on and we turn the APU bleed off and we look down, we'll see we've got warnings now about the APU bleed being off. So I'm going to leave all the APU bleed on, just so we haven't got notifications here on the eCam screen. Okay. I'm trying to be so level about this and not to really tear it to pieces, so please bear with me. So we go back to the eyebrow panel, we go and put the taxi lights to on, and we can taxi to the runway. So let's see if we can actually steer this thing. So parking brake off. Does it have any positive thrust in a direction? Doesn't appear to. So let's go and put the head tracking on. Open the throttles gently. Let's get rid of this caution light. We are rolling and we have nose wheel steering. Everything is a bonus at the moment. Okay, we didn't set up the eCam, so let's go and say we want 36. Whoa. Am I going the wrong way? I am, aren't I? Yeah, this. Okay, this is a good test. How tight is the turning circle? Whoa, where did this step in the taxiway come from? I'm guessing Stansted's been updated in the sim, hasn't it? And it's conflicting with the custom scenery I had. So I'm going to need to remove my version of it. That would explain why we have now got markers everywhere. I've got 2 airports here, haven't I? That's interesting. That's amusing. So the England update must have added some airports, I guess. I'll have to go and check. Okay, parking brake on for a moment. Landing lights on. Flaps are already set. Strobe lights can go on now. We don't need a logo light. And we're ready to go, so this is going to be a voyage of discovery time right now. I'm going to turn the head tracking off because we need to be able to maybe click things in a hurry when it goes wrong. Full throttle. So is it going to have the V speeds? Well, we have some enunciations then. That's really cool. Or co-pilot sounds. So
rotate V2.
Gear up. Well, that all looks very good. So let's autopilot on. Okay, that's interesting. So I've taken it out of autopilot and killed the throttle for the moment. Because I hadn't actually told it what mode to go into, so it obviously dived for the floor, which was really useful. So let's go VNav and nav, and turn the autopilot back on, and let it do what it wants to do. And it's behaving. So it should start turning right, and there it goes. Well, that's absolutely acceptable. That's good. So let's go and have a play with... We're going too fast. Let's see how the auto throttle works then. So does it animate the sticks? Yes, it does. Or the levers, I should say. So that's doing everything you'd expect from a basic level, I guess. Let's see if it follows the VNav altitude restrictions through the standard instrument departure. So it's holding 250 knots below 10,000 feet. We're coming up towards 6,000. Did I calibrate the... I didn't calibrate the altimeter, did I? When I whizzed through quickly. I've just done it. So when we get to 6,000, can we change this? Is there a shortcut way of going to 2992? We're about to find out. So if I click this, do you think it will do that? No. So I need to change this somehow by hand. Unless there's a button somewhere that will do it. That I don't know about. So there's 2992 dialed in. The plane is following the route. It seems to have some weird rendering issue going on here though, with a black line drawn through it. So yeah, someone else has pointed out, I didn't turn the flight directors on and it's still working. So I've just turned on the flight director, so it's now, maybe that just shows it. Maybe that's not actually turning it on and off. Who knows? Unless we get a real A220 pilot, or was it a Bombardier, wasn't it? This is kind of the child of the, or grandchild of the CRJ, really, isn't it? So Airbus bought them from, or bought the business from Bombardier, as far as I understand, and then rebadged the aircraft. So yeah, all I'm saying is maybe that button just switches on the display of the flight director and it's always on anyway regardless. Who knows? So we're coming up towards 10,000 feet. Let's see if the altitude, the indicated airspeed marker shoots out to about 320. So it's set at 250 at the moment. So as we pass through 10,000, what's going to happen to it? Yep, exactly, look, 320 knots. So then we can go and turn off the landing lights. And we'll increase the range on the display to show the rest of the route. It's been interesting so far. I think it's going to be quite easy to land. It's just that if you're looking for, you know, proper study level systems modelling, you're not going to get it. And it seems to be great at following a flight plan with restrictions, but I don't seem to be able to set a speed myself. If I try and change this, it's it's quite amusing. So it flies at the speed it wants to fly at when it's on auto throttle. So I've turned the volume down for you, by the way, so you could hear me over it, but if I turn it back up. So we're just coming up through 13,000 feet in a moment. The climb rate isn't great, is it? You'd have thought something this... Although I suppose it's climbing about 1,800 feet a minute, which isn't bad. I just thought with something this small, with those whacking great engines, it might climb a bit quicker than that. It's running the engines. It's only running them at 60%. What's it playing at? So if we took the auto throttle off, well, instead of using VNav, because it might have a profile, a wacky profile programmed in, let's do flight level change and see what happens. So now it's winding the engines up. It's interesting that it will do flight level change at the same time as VNav. You'd think that would cancel it out, but there you go. And now we're climbing 5,000 feet a minute. So we're going to get to cruise in no time at all. So let's have a look at some of these monitor screens on the eCam. So electricity, fuel, and flight control systems, and hydraulics, and the air pressurization system, and the anti-ice system, and information. So it's not all bad. I tend to think, given the price point though, I would tell somebody to go and buy the PMDG 737-600 ahead of anything else that's at a similar price point. Because it's only about £30, isn't it? So what's that, $40, $35? I don't know if they sell them at a consistent rate around the world. But the PMDG 737-600 is an amazing aeroplane for the money. To be honest, the A310 that's built into the sim is very good as well. The A300 that Innie builds make, obviously it's a bit more expensive, but it's fantastic. And the version 2 of the Airbus they released, the Innie builds version, that I think it's Innie builds, that's in the sim, is very good. It has some quirks, but then the fly-by-wire Airbus is better than all of them, isn't it? In various regards. So for the money, for free, it's absolutely stunning. So Otaku was saying it's not in LittleNavMap. The system was initially on heading select and vertical speed mode. When I took off, it wasn't in any mode, and I switched on autopilot to see what would happen, and it dived for the floor. And then I obviously immediately switched it off. it playing to see what would happen. I immediately switched it off, pulled the throttles back, got it stable, went for VNav and nav, and switched it on, and it was absolutely predictable. And then turned the auto throttle on, and the auto throttle was absolutely predictable as well. The only thing that's slightly odd is its calculation of the VNav profile was very, very conservative. So I did a flight level change to force it into a max climb. And yeah, it's climbing to altitude in no time at all. It's done very, very well. So yeah, Jason's asking, is the fly-by-wire better than the INI builds A220? Yes. It's the cathedral and the bazaar, if you've ever heard of that term. Commercial products are seen as being built by a cathedral. So you have a structure of people, but they're also built to a budget and a time scale. Whereas open source projects, which is the bazaar, are built by a huge uncoordinated community who have no budget and no timescale involved. So give the bazaar enough time and a clear aim, and they will destroy the cathedral or the business at the same aim. Which is how Linux has come to destroy all, anyone in front of it in terms of server operating systems. Well, that's interesting, because we're nowhere near the overspeed limit, and now it's cut off again. I'm just reading Otaku's comments there about the highlighting on the screens. I don't think we can take anything on these screens as meaningful at all. It's yeah, it's unique. Half the buttons don't work, so I can't change the speed, for example. So if I try and click this, it comes back to 320 on its own, look. It's very odd. So the only way to control the speed properly would be to turn the auto throttle off and just use the throttles. We appear to have stopped climbing at 31,600 feet for some unknown reason. Let's turn... Yeah, we can't get to 36,000 feet. Let's go for vertical speed mode then, and see if it will take us up. Yeah, vertical speed mode works, look. So we'll go at 2,000 feet a minute. We'll probably lose some speed along the way because it won't be able to manage it. So it's winding the engines back up. We've asked for 2,000 feet a minute, which it's doing. This is the danger of vertical speed, by the way. It will obey your instruction regardless of airspeed. It won't wind out the vertical speed. So you can put your plane into a hole in the ground pretty quickly. So let's see if this stops the vertical speed climb and goes to altitude hold at 36. And then it'll be time to start descending, probably. Shall we lower the range on this, if we can get it to lower the range? Okay. Notice we get no markers for top of climb or descent on the navigation display. So yeah, departure line says it almost feels unfinished. It's very unfinished, but it's usable. Just. So we are approaching. Why has it suddenly cut the throttles to 50%? That was interesting. Maybe the wind changed. Because we don't get a display of the wind either by the look of it. And this screen doesn't actually fit in this box because, yeah, you can see it's cropping it. So vertical speed is switched off. It's gone to alt hold mode at 36,000. It's on its way there. So that worked. And now overspeed is falsely going off when we're nowhere near. And there's not much I could do about it if we did, unless I just turn off auto throttle and use the throttles to control our airspeed, which might be what we have to do on the way down. It's a shame because from outside it looks amazing, doesn't it? It's absolutely gorgeous. It's one of the best looking planes in the sim. It's just a shame the insides don't match the outsides. So yeah, the auto throttle or the indicated airspeed seems to have a mind of its own. I can't change it. Unless there's some weird click spots going on here that I don't know about. Very, very odd. Okay, shall we have a look at the map and see where we are? And we'll load. I've got the performance profile of an A320 in. So if we put in 36,000, so it's saying top of descent is in about another measure 80 miles time. So I'm just going to draw a line across the map here, so we've got a marker. We know that's where we need to descend. And we'll see how we get on. So we're just approaching this from the bottom of the map here. So this is based on the performance profile of an A320, which is a bit bigger than this. So this should descend a bit more easily, you would imagine, but you don't know. We'll find out. We'll probably end up landing manually just to take control of the aeroplane, to be honest. So, okay, so I'm not going to try and pronounce your name, but please keep your language clean in the voice chat. Oh, sorry, in the live stream chat. So Ataku's saying, am I going to check out the CS's remade B717? I haven't. I've read about it. I haven't looked at it yet. I tend to wait for airplanes to come out. For the vast majority of the big planes I've bought, it's very rare that any of the big planes get given to me in advance. It sometimes happens with GA planes from small developers. They'll sometimes get in touch with me and let me have an advanced copy, because obviously they're fighting hard to get the word out about their hard work. But the big jets tend to, from the likes of PMDG or Phoenix or whoever, they tend to only give pre-sale versions to the professional pilots, because obviously they're the best qualified to look at them and to say, is this an accurate rendition or not. The rest of us are guessing. So Departure Lounge is saying that did VirtualCol jump on the opportunity of people craving a 220. I didn't know they were craving a 220, to be honest. It was a surprise to me when I saw it. And as I say, I saw Avangel had done a review of it, and I thought, oh, it doesn't actually look that bad. So I sat this evening and worked through the procedure. So I've gone and written the procedure up for it to start it up. Like I said when I was working through it, some of the things seem to be a bit out of order, like the hydraulics going on before the engines and stuff like that. You'd imagine that would all be the other way around, but it's an electronic aeroplane, so maybe it is. Maybe that's not a concern on the more modern aircraft. So I'm going to go make a quick coffee and stretch my legs. I've been sat here for far too long. It's still giving me an overspeed when we're not overspeeding. Yeah, I'm going to go and stretch my legs for a couple of minutes. We'll leave it in cruise. I'll put it on the pretty outside view, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, I'm back. Let's have a look at the route. So we're not too far away from top of descent, so just in case, should we take it down to 18,000 feet and see what happens? Whoa, it's reacting immediately. Which is interesting, seeing as we are in altitude. Oh, it's in altitude hold mode. So everything is a voyage of discovery at the moment. So if I take this down to 18, so by default it's coming down at about 1800 feet a minute to chase an altitude hold. So what difference would that make if I said flight level change? So that cuts the throttles back and it will just dive for the floor. If I put it back on altitude hold, it's targeting 240 knots all of a sudden to do an... So presumably it's trying to decelerate in its very simple-minded logic to get below 250 before we get to 10,000 feet. Interesting. Let me just check the volume levels. Make sure you can hear me over here. You can hear me over the airplane. So I hear that Edinburgh has had a fairly sizable update as well. So I wonder if Edinburgh... I've got the InnyBuilds version of Edinburgh. Or I think it came from InnyBuilds. I've certainly got a payware version of Edinburgh anyway. I wonder if that's going to be affected. So, we didn't set rejected takeoff earlier, did we? Not that it probably does anything, but I ought to add it to my checklist, I guess. I'm going to update it while I'm looking at it now. So, lined up on the runway. That would be Alt and... I don't have a view that shows that, oh dear. I'll just say F. No, I ought to arrange a view really. So Alt 5, I did that. Alt 6, 7, I'm going to go for Alt 8. So you're going to see how I do this now. Control Alt 8. So then I can press now Alt 8 and it goes over here. So I better document that on my checklist. Alt and 8 is the what do we call this? The instrument panel. Center instrument panel. And the time to set that would be when you're lining up for, or during taxi, I guess. And it's the auto brake. Okay. So we're not coming down as fast as I might like. But we'll see. If we look on LittleNavMap, we can get a good idea, actually. If we pull up the plot, it gives us a vector. So it's actually not too bad. Obviously, we came down early because we weren't going to hedge our bets on what the airplane would be capable of. But it's coming down at a good rate. So then we can level off when we get to kind of Haven. So looking at the map here, yeah, so we'll level off at Haven. So that's at just above 10,000 feet there, look. I'll figure it out. So, Harrison is saying, how did the departure go? I missed that. Also, are we able to change the QNH to HP or is it stuck in inches? Let's go and find out, shall we? We can not change it. That's really interesting. So, oh, you can. It's just a click spot. It's rubbish. But then, yeah. So then, having done that, if I set that into hectopascals instead then, and then I can use the mouse wheel to roll it, the mouse button doesn't. Let's keep it at 1013 then, until we get down to the transition altitude on the way into Edinburgh. So we need to find out the weather at Edinburgh. So show information for Edinburgh. Weather. Transition altitude is 6,000 feet for Edinburgh. And we've got 1010 hectopascals. Okay. So yeah, departure was interesting because we were playing with autopilot modes on the way out. But as soon as I configured nav and VNav, it was fine. The one thing that seems to be horrendously broken is the auto throttle. You can't select airspeed. It has a total mind of its own, and it just blindly follows the flight plan. So there's no selected airspeed mode on auto throttle by the look of it. So we should turn left fairly soon. Approaching Agped. And we are now into the standard instrument departure. So, yeah, we're coming in here a bit low. It's about 6,000 feet lower than we should be through Agped. Our next restriction is above 6,000 feet at D027X, which is on the way into the approach, basically. Yeah, the real shame is this thing it looks gorgeous from the outside. It's just the inside lets it down. So, if we go into perf, just to follow your thing, so yeah, we got a managed speed here. But can we override that? So at the moment, it's saying, yeah, it's doing 242, okay? So can we override that? We say, let's go for 250. No. Can't do a thing about it. But then what happens if we try to adjust this? So you can see it went up to 292 there briefly when I rolled the mouse wheel on it. It had no difference down here, and then it went back to 242. And also the throttles jittered at the same time I did that. So either going up or down made it go to 292. It's bizarre, isn't it? So yeah, rather foolishly, I did spend, I don't know, hour and a half earlier working through writing up the usual checklist for this aeroplane, but I don't think many people are going to go buy it, so the tutorial probably won't be of much use to anybody. But you never know. They may improve it. This is version 1.0, remember. So maybe, or there may be an improvement upgrade for it from the community. Who knows? It's a lovely looking aeroplane though, isn't it? So we need to come down, don't we, now? In a bit of a hurry. So let's try flight level change out and see what happens. So that's winding the throttles back. I've not played with using the spoilers at all yet. I'm not sure if it would complain too much. So it wants to be below 250 at Haven. If you remember looking at the flight plan, Haven, yeah, there's no altitude restriction there. We're really worried about D027, which is way around the corner. So let's just go VNav mode and turn flight level change off. See, VNav has put it into vertical speed. Does that mean we can change that? The howl noise from the engines is apparently very accurate. Okay, let's just lower the range on the map display again. It's a shame that the map displays are not independent. When I worked through programming flight plans in when I was learning how it worked, I couldn't get it to reliably insert waypoints. It seemed to be putting them, if you key one in, if I can show you here actually, so we've got Haven. Let's find a waypoint near Haven. Haven, Tartan, so what's it going to have? They're all coded waypoints, aren't they? Sometimes they won't be in the aeroplane. Ipdor after Haven, just for a bit of fun. So if I clear out that message that's there, and we type in IPDOR, so you would imagine you'd be able to select the soft key of the next waypoint. And it's not, look. It said destination Ipdor. It's rubbish. So we'll ignore that. If we select Haven itself, we could say next waypoint here, I guess. So let's try that. Ipdor. haven, and no, it's not even done that. It's selected, it's done something really odd. Where has it put IP door? It hasn't. So we'll erase that change as well, and we'll leave it alone. And stop fiddling with it. Okay, so we're down to 10,000 feet. We can see the hills now on the run in towards the Firth of Forth. So if we have a look on the map, we can see where we are in the country. So we're just coming in over, yeah, Selkirk, Galashiels. I wonder if you can see, there are probably two smaller features. There's these hills here. I walked up them many years ago, the Eildon Hills. You might be able to see them from the sim. Depends what the weather's like. Yeah, they're going to be over there under the cloud. Oh, is that them over there? So I walked up them many years ago. I walked from Melrose out to the hills and walked up them and then walked back to Melrose and then back to Selkirk. I was working in Selkirk for a couple of weeks. So I went off. It's got a hell of an alpha angle going on. What speed are we doing? Why is it cut to 190 knots? Okay, I'm taking the auto throttle off because we can't trust it to do anything basically. So I'll just use manual throttle. So we can see the rate of change on the speed, so we can moderate the throttle gently to control that. So while this is all going on, let's go and have a look at 108.9, 240 degrees. So we can at least get the ILS programmed in. 108.9, 240, that's already programmed then. So we should at least get localizer and glide slope when we get nearer to Edinburgh. Just keep an eye on that speed. Okay, so we're just using manual throttle now, and we'll be fine. Famous last words. So here's the run-in towards Edinburgh. So we had to be above 6,000 feet at D027X, I believe. Let's have a look. Yeah. And then above 4,000 at 283, which is the next one. So we won't start descending just yet. But we could go and do the barometric pressure, couldn't we? So 1010, wasn't it, we said? So let's go and see if it will let us. There we go, 1010. So Harrison's saying, just wondering if a utility called VAS FMC would help, as that runs your autopilot and FMS externally. May well, it might do. It might end up just having a circular fight with the aeroplane though and launching itself. So should we have a look outside? We've hardly looked outside the whole time. So head tracking on. The scenery out here in Scotland's gorgeous. Should go over the co-pilot side, see what he can see out of his window. It's a bit cloudy, but okay. Tracking back off. Need to focus a little bit. So it looks like the airplane's going to completely miss these waypoints, which is interesting. So we're going to go down for 6,000 feet. You can see a... Now I don't know if that's a profile or an erroneous glide slope marker that's appearing there. So we'll ask the airplane for 6,000 feet, and it should come through D027X in the ballpark. Yeah, look, it's completely cut the corner off and missed the waypoints. We are still in nav mode, so lateral navigation is via the autopilot. It's just ignoring the plan. So Rachel's saying, "Hi Jonathan, thoughts on this plane?" How do we say this without it sounding too cutting? It's not the most expensive aeroplane, and you get what you pay for. It is flyable, but you have to work around its deficiencies, of which there are many in the automated systems. But yeah, I think that's the fairest way to put it. So we're just coming down into the cloud now on approach into Edinburgh, and we're probably too high, aren't we? So I'm going far too fast, that's why. Okay, time to find out how the spoilers work. Well, spoilers work a treat. So we want 4,000 now on here. It's not actually that bad. So if we have a look on the map just to show you where we are. Going out this way, so obviously it's simplified on LittleNavMap. The actual approach takes us around this circle of waypoints. So we need to be at about 3,000 feet by the time we get to FI-24, which is over here, look, in order to pick up the waypoint, but it looks like it's going to cut the corner. So we'll let it cut the corner. We'll just aim for 3,000 feet already. There's some odd rendering issues. There's like a black rectangle drawn over the top of... That's unfortunate that they've done that. I don't know quite why they've done that. Can we go for first stage of flaps yet? No, not... we need to go a little bit slower, so let's cut the speed back. We're already on idle because we're descending, obviously. So let's put the spoilers out to... Why would it throw a warning just because the spoilers have gone out? So we're below the ILS beam now, but we've got a locked on glide slope, which is interesting. Got a hollow diamond down here for the localizer, obviously because we're pointing the wrong way. But as we turn, that will hopefully solidify and slide into the middle of the HSI there. So let's hold it at 170 knots. Try to. We're at 3,000 feet then. We're at the right altitude. Starting to configure for landing, so we should have had the landing lights on already, by the way. From 10,000 feet onwards we should have had them on, and we haven't, so we're going to get taxi lights on already, ready for bringing the gear down in a moment. So the airplane is turning, it's not following the track very accurately. It's still on autopilot. Still in nav mode. It's gone to altitude hold on the commanded altitude. You know, I might have to take over. This looks like it's losing the plot. Unless it suddenly banks left at the last moment here. I'm watching it. I'm wondering if it's going to turn or not. If not, I'll just take over. Right, I gave it its chance. Time to fly. So let's have a look and let's get the screens lined up something sensibly so we can use them. Got a nice murky day over the Firth of Forth. It's always the way, isn't it, into Edinburgh? So should we don't want to descend any, we want to hold it level until we hit the glide slope really. I have no idea if this has any sort of approach mode display. We're a bit slow. So full flaps. Gear down. Whoa, that lit the cockpit up. Or was that a cloud that came through the cockpit, maybe? So should we see what this looks like from outside now we're on approach? Very pretty. Okay, so we're just about on the glide slope now. Slightly off to the right. So we should see Edinburgh out in front of us soon. So we've got the countdown now, 9.3 miles to go. Drifted a little bit high. So it's easy to fly. I've no idea if it's realistic, of course, but it's very easy to fly. Should we put head tracking on now? So there we go. So you can see Edinburgh Airport right in front of us now. See the Forth Bridge over there. And there's the city of Edinburgh. So what I'm going to do is correct this. It was making me crane my neck down because it's quite a low angle to look down. The default forward view angle is quite a long way up. So I just had to correct that by looking at the ceiling, centering the head tracker, and then leveling my head back up. So offsetting the view essentially. So it's easy to control. It does wander around a little bit. But that might be the wind as well that's affecting it. This head tracking is driving me nuts. I'm going to turn it off. So we can see the glide slope does seem to agree with the PAPI lights.
$400. 300.
Dropped a bit low. Throttle response is very quick. Seems to be a bit of a crosswind, but we've got no indication of that in the cockpit. It's not that clever.
Minimums. $100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
That was odd. It started to dive to the left. I had almost full right aileron then in those last moments. Maybe I was just a bit too slow. But there was no stall warning. Oh, let's have a look outside, see if the thrust reversers work. Okay. So it was a bit of a wallop on the landing, but that's just experience. That was the first landing with it. The approach was controllable, but as we got near the runway, it started to dive a little bit to the left, but that may have been just it got away from me a little bit. I was a bit too slow. But it was interesting. There was no stick shaking, no warnings. It just started to slide off to the left. The real shame is it looks amazing from outside. So the Xbox crowd will probably love it. And again, I guess it depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for a study level aeroplane, this isn't it. But if you're looking for a fun plane to go fly around, it's perfectly acceptable. Yeah, as Rachel has just said, I think the best value high fidelity aeroplane, if you want to call it that, is the PMDG 737-600. And after that, the fly-by-wire A320 is absolutely brilliant. If you're on an Xbox, though, you obviously can't use the fly-by-wire, so the PMDGs are probably your next best bet. So this is a payware version of Edinburgh, by the way. I want to say it's in e-builds, but I can't remember. Parking brake on. So external power is available. So if we go to use external power, we should then be able to just cut the engines. And then overhead, we can just go and turn everything off that we did earlier. So the boost pumps can go to off. Hydraulics can all go to off now. The bleed can all be turned back off. The generators can be turned off. Anti-ice can all go back off. What lights do we have left on? Beacon light can come off now. Nav lights can come off. Seatbelt signs can come off. I hear the stampede for the toilet. Or to open the overhead cabins, I guess. And I think that's just about it. So then we can just go and turn the APU, or say external power, off. And then the batteries. So as soon as we turn the batteries off, we should go cold and dark. And we have. So it kind of works. There's obviously a level of systems depth that just doesn't exist in it. Which is a shame, obviously, but it's pretty good. Anyway, we could talk all day about which are the really good airplanes in the simulator, and I think you only have to go and look online to read reviews or watch videos to see which are the good ones. Yeah, so I completely agree with what Sandeep says there about this is similar systems-wise to the more modern Boeings. But it's an Airbus. Well, it's not an Airbus, is it? It's a relicensed Bombardier aircraft, as far as I'm aware. It's just, yeah, it's been built to a price. That's the thing you could say about it. But it is usable. It's just, you're going to have fun in games trying to control it. If you want to control it accurately, you can't. So it's not the sort of thing you'll be able to use with an ATC session in any way, shape or form, because you just can't. You know, the flight management system pretty much does what it wants to do. And like you saw it on approach there. As soon as I took over, we could fly it to the numbers. But the FMS has got a mind of its own, to be honest. The physics are okay. So yeah, Rachel's saying, are the physics good? Yes, the physics are absolutely fine. It's just the flight management system, the guidance system. At one point, we were flying along. Somebody else noticed VNav and Nav were working without the flight directors. But then, without knowing how the airplane works, for all we know, the flight director just switches on the crosshair. Maybe it's on all the time. We don't know. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. So you had a good look there at the VirtualCol Airbus A220 in Flight Simulator. And I'm going to go make a cup of tea and watch some rubbish TV, and I'll upload the procedure for anybody that does want it. So I'll see you all again soon. Take care.